Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Journalist 3, and I just wanted to go over since it's almost been over a week. So, yeah, I have been focusing on the podcast. I've met some cool people. Got 2 interviews done, or I think maybe 3 since the last call. And yeah, I think I had one where it didn't end up happening, and I got interviewed, or maybe that was the last time. I think I got interviewed, yeah. So a lot of things have happened. I'm really happy for the fact I even got interviewed. I don't know if I'm really worth it, but I'm happy the fact that someone found my story interesting enough. So I'm very happy with that. And I haven't grown at the rate I wanted to. However, my LinkedIn and Twitter have grown a lot more. So I guess it's this weird spiral. Um, and yeah, yesterday I had a dinner with this one founder, really successful guy. And he was showing me a community group chat where it's like founders who make like above I think 100 who are worth or founders their companies are worth over $100 million or investors, and someone shared a podcast I did inside that group, and that just is like crazy. I still I still struggle to I'm just really happy about that fact. And there's 400 of them across Asia Pacific. The fact I got shared is just wow. So yeah, and I got advice from the founder about how I should do a lot of different things, branding, reaching out, what I should really focus on because there's so much things I can focus on. The quality is good enough. I want to make the color correcting a little better. The audio people are fine with it. I think it's abysmal. I'm so I guess the more when I hear podcasts now, I can feel like the error and like the weird voice changes. But I think that's only me. And if I really care about the story, that's not really an issue unless it's really bad, which it isn't. So yeah. So that conversation has given me so much clarity in what I should be doing, and I just found it so immensely helpful. Yeah, such a great mentor to have. Really successful founder, investor in some companies, and yeah, I am so glad to have had mentors around me to help me so much. And I feel like there's a kind of a clear road. I have a podcast tomorrow and I have a podcast on Sunday. I have an AP exam this Friday for physics, and then on Saturday I have some duties I need to do. Next week on Tuesday I'm meeting with a former alumni of our school, very successful guy, and then I have a podcast set up for that day after 2 hours, and then now I'm setting one podcast up for that week. 3 is the goal. My goal is to hit 100 videos by the end of this year, so I'm kind of off pace. I'm not really off pace, but if I want to get back, I need to go back to doing 3 times a week, which I've managed to hit 2 very consistently. But 3 is not something I've been able to hit very consistently longer than a month. So I'm trying to work on that. I think it's just me not reaching out. That internal fear of people's judgment, and because especially like I want to interview like founders, cool people, but also what the questions I ask are also very important. Most people are cool, so I need to make sure I'm very clear with myself and really try to focus on, you know, on the questions I ask as well, and the guests as well. When I asked with the guest, the founder I talked with, he told me there's silver bullets and there's golden bullets. Silver bullets, you're just more spread out. Golden bullets, you really try to make sure it happens, you know. You put a lot of effort. And gray bullets, less because the chances are also low. So yeah, just reach out to more people and understand that. And he was telling me, be authentic. Like, there's no reason for you to act super professional. You're not a professional. Don't act like something you aren't. You are a 17-year-old kid who's founded startups, who likes his journey, and the people who vibe with that are gonna, you know, be on the pod, and the people who don't aren't. And you could have maybe fooled them, and maybe you could have gotten them on, but those are not people I would probably be able to really entertain for long enough, and very unlikely to close. So, yeah, just trying to be authentic when I reach out to like who I actually am, and I'm focusing on LinkedIn at the moment. Twitter has been really great as well, in terms of the people I get to meet and the people. It feels like I feel super normal in Twitter, although not fully. It still is a bit weird for me in some realms, but I get to it feels like people kind of understand that mindset of trying to build, of trying to that builder mindset is very common in Twitter, which I really appreciate, or at least the space I'm in. And yeah, I think that's the status of everything. I've been trying to read more sometimes, but not really been successful. I feel this is the worst I've really felt in terms of focus. Like I feel like when I talk with people, I'm so much better actually. I feel like at least in terms of my enthusiasm is a lot greater. Maybe not as much in terms of like the rules, like the tactics I use from how to win friends and influence people. But I still found that hey, I've been still incorporating things properly. And but the other things like school or when I'm writing things that I'm not as interested in, which is like making cold outreach, spreading distribution, and following up with everyone. That's not something like I enjoy that much. And school I don't enjoy that much. Like I enjoy math, and maybe it's because it's not challenging for me in terms of like how many things should be going. But I love the challenge of the podcast because I am in that spotlight and I feel really free in that moment because that's the only thing I can focus on. It's like when I climb or when I do boxing or when I do this video. It's the only thing I can really focus on is the video. Although my mind's been kind of drifting a little bit because it's not as I don't feel as much pressure when I do an interview. I feel so much more pressure, especially when you have like very good cameras and you brought a producer in, and there's another team of people who's also helping you out. That changes things. And yeah, I'm interviewing a global producer for a large media organization, and I'm so glad to be interviewing him because, and I hope to maybe work for the company in the future. I would love to. That's something I'm so excited, if possible. I think maybe in the future I will. At the moment, not sure, but basically this media channel at a world-class level, and I can learn from the experts, learn from the people who've actually done it. And when I gave him the question, I was asking about, what's the intent, the audience, and that kind of made me realize, like, even in this vague thing of like asking questions, there's different levels to having questions, different level of understanding your audience. Like, there's all these things that are not really like rules or tactics, but they are things that kind of pop off with mastery. And mastery is something I'm trying to focus on. I can't be just moving around all the time. I have sometimes these instincts, like probably everyone who's listening, especially if you're trying to build an entrepreneurship, or even if you're not. I can even see from the high school students, they change what they like so much, and it makes sense, But I think the reason why I've been changing so much, I tried like 10 things or 20 things, and most things I've stuck for it for at least 6 months to a year. Some of them have made a little bit of money, but the ones that did make money still required a lot of pain for the first 3 months, for the first 6 months, 2,000 emails, all rejections, coding and it just failing and having to fail over and over again until it kind of works really crappy. And then, yeah, but that process of keep switching, it doesn't help because I build all these skill sets and it's so integral. I'm so glad I learned coding for building startups and stuff, and for all the other things I've learned about, like reaching out to people, like 4,000 emails. There's nothing. They're not gonna hate you. Nothing bad's gonna happen. It's not you're gonna die. They just didn't vibe with what you're doing, or you sent your messaging wrong. You can work on that, but nothing really changes. And then once you go on, then it makes up for all the other rejections you've gotten. So yeah, why not? And then most people live under like rejection is so much more common. The more founders I meet, they have had much more rejections than they've actually had of successes, and that probably makes sense. I mean, most people do not vibe with you, but I think, this is something I was reading about. Our primitive brain associates in like a tribal nature. Like if someone says no to us in a tribal sense, that is a big issue because maybe there's like 50 or 100 people and one guy doesn't like you and there's a beef. That's gonna last a lifetime, and that might be the end of you. But in this large social sense, which I'm still amazed by, because I meet all these famous people with millions of followers, millions, whatever, and they seem so large. And when you meet them, they're human beings. They cannot actually feasibly talk to every single one of them. And the thing is, the world is so big. There's so many people doing all kinds of different things, and you meet them everywhere, and it's like, wow, the world is just so big that the people who don't vibe with you, as long as you came across as authentic, it was your mistake, but you learn from that mistake. And usually, if they're the people you want to be with, I'd assume that they would associate. Or maybe it was just, you were just not at that right level. But and once you level up, maybe you can connect with them. Whatever it may be, it's just it is it, and you can keep going, and you'll find people who are with you. Probably, unless you're like some immoral person. But even people who've done bad things in the past kind of can get reconciliation. Maybe not from this person they did bad things to, but from other people. So yeah, those are some thoughts going in my head. It's not been the best in terms of my mind. It just feels so unfocused. I guess that's part of life, and I'll keep going. Keep working. The podcast is my only focus at the moment. I have more entrepreneurs I'm interviewing. I'd like to help other companies with podcasts. I've heard from some of my mentors that companies can pay 5 to 10K per month, and just having 2 of that client will basically pay for everything I need for my life and what I need for the bare necessities. I mean even 1 is enough for my bare necessities, but I was kind of thinking about what I enjoy most, and what I enjoy most is interacting with cool, interesting people. And it is such a random thing. Like when I travel to places, I don't really like seeing the places. The thing I'm most excited for is a new scenery for a cafe shop. And cafes are kind of a way where it kind of forces me to travel to places where I go. Like whenever we went to some place, I would usually, after we did our family thing or other guests we met, I would just get out and I'll just go to a coffee shop nearby, maybe go to another one, and then just get some work there, walk around, see some nice places, maybe see a fluffy dog scratching in the back, maybe there's like a weird concept. But I found those things to be really fun for me, and I can kind of imagine myself, at least for quite a long time, not really being tired of it, of just traveling to maybe Tokyo. My goal is Tokyo, Sydney, SF, hopefully the visa stuff goes through, and Europe. But this summer break. But then after, my goal is like every 6 months, go to new cities and then just interview all the entrepreneurs there, because I don't want to be confounded into just one place. Although I really, probably SF is just so much people that it'll probably take some time to interview all the people I want to. But Europe has a lot of things going on. I'm curious about Cape Town. I'm curious about Nigeria and Ethiopia, big economical developments. I heard there's some unicorns. There have been and then Turkey. I want to go down. Go to the Middle East. I want to go to Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. I want to go to China. China is something. There's a billion people. I want to go there. I want to go to India. I want to go to Indonesia. I want to kind of broaden my concept and build my networks all across the world. Because I would love to know more about the world so I can make a better decision. And not just because of that. I mean, that's kind of like a logical way of making sense. So another mentor of mine was saying, like, you're very good at like making up excuses, but you're not really truthful about what you're doing a lot of these things for. And it's like, I mean, part of it is just money. You want money. You just want freedom. And maybe it is. I just like doing it as well. There's nothing like money. I think to a certain extent, money would be very appreciative. Money is something I'm focusing on probably after a year when it's really necessary, and I have already made money, so I think I can do it again. So, but yeah, so just kind of like focusing on things, and I just love doing it. So I feel like if the more you delve into like your reasons, sometimes it just becomes like you don't really know in the end. You don't really know to the exact. Alex Ramosi was saying there's like probably 500,000 things that cause him to be who he is. Alex Ramosi is a successful entrepreneur. He's built if you search for him, he's very popular right now to the people who might not know him. And it's like, wow, that probably makes sense. There's so many reasons you can say of why a person is this, why a person is this. But then so like, for example, let's say you come from a poor background, or let's say you come from a background where maybe you don't have friends. There are people who growing up didn't have friends who are successful, and there are people who are not successful. People who are social, who are not social. Maybe a higher like statistical correlation, but there's always an exception, and usually quite a large exception. So I'm thinking it's quite trivial to really focus on that. And I do really wonder, like, what is this motivation? Because I wish, or discipline, like, where does that willpower, where does that will to control yourself and the will to do these things come from? Is it just you just are curious and you just build everything around that? Like, what is it that allows some people to be so much more, I think Alistair Moses said, able to control their impulses, control their thoughts to this more, I guess, logical in some manner, or maybe it's not logical. They just are better. They just keep themselves in a better like state. It's very vague. Like, it's not like specific just discipline, because discipline is not the equation for always success. But their willingness to also change, or willingness to take risks. Where does that come from? Because I've had friends and they ask for me, and I also ask for friends because I want to be more better. And it just seems like the end of the conclusion that you have to kind of figure out for yourself. There is no one answer. If you fixate on the health part, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna solve. And like, I remember I was seeing this one partner at this big venture, and he was saying when he funds founders, I think he says he looks for people who have will and determination, the self-belief, not arrogance, but just this self-belief that isn't arrogant, which is a very hard combo, that isn't egotistical, that isn't like stupid, like an actually founded belief. But well-founded belief doesn't mean it's completely logical, but that emotional part of just like, I will get this done no matter what. That he doesn't really know, and if you don't have it, he can't tell you. You have to figure it out for yourself, and it's quite contextual. I mean, and all the founders I've interviewed and the cool, successful people I've interviewed, they say context is very important. There's a quote I like: "Context is king." So I think, yeah, I try not really tell stuff. And also in my interviews, I'm trying to go towards more of the stories, more anecdotal things, rather than just narratives, because it's quite easy to say things towards the narrative. I could tell you, anyone could probably tell stories that fit a certain anecdote, and they'll likely not talk about all the other stories that are not fitting with the idea you're trying to talk about. So those are some thoughts. It's 17 minutes. I wonder whoever's listening, but if you're not subscribed to my other podcast channel, please do. I found that 90% of the viewers didn't subscribe, and if the 90% did subscribe, I'd already be at like 3,000, 2,000. So please subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so appreciative of your time. See you on the next day.